guys. This is a module that isn't in the gallery yet. It's something I'm working on and I'm open to all of your input out in the hallway afterwards. So basically this is a module that I created which is based on a Terraform module called PSCAFNaming, and basically it has two purposes. The one unique selling point I think that you guys are going to be really interested in is that you can specify an Azure resource, for example, storage account, and you can give it a name that you've already defined yourself, and it will tell you whether that resource is valid or invalid based on the regex that's behind in the background. So, for example, storage accounts can only have up to 23 characters. They can't have dashes. So all of those things will incur a failure if you try and pass it in. The second thing it does is it actually allows you to generate the names as well. So if you have a company policy which says, okay, all of our resources need to be prefixed with company abbreviation and environment, for example, and all need to have three digits at the end, you can build that into this as well. So it does both. And the other last thing it can do as well is it can generate random characters. You can say, okay, I want to have 6 random chars at the end of my resource name, so they're always unique. So for demos, it's quite good. But also, if you're not too worried about what your resources are called and you just want to make sure that they're unique, that's also quite a good feature. So I'm just going to dive into the demo. The code is on GitHub already, and I've got some tests that I've ran to make sure it works quite well. And as I say, I'm open to feedback. So I'm just going to import the module right now. So this first example here, let me just do this. Is just going to create a resource. It's going to take the name and it's going to prefix PSConf and prod to it, and it's going to add 001 at the end. And because it's a storage account, it's going to try and add the abbreviation ST, I believe, or SA. It's the point. I don't remember always what they are. So if we did run this, we'll have a look here. At the bottom here, you can see we've got a resource now called PSConf prod ST test 001. So it's a bit small down the bottom. I don't know how to make the terminal bigger on this machine. It's not my machine, so apologies for that. But yeah, so there we go. We've got a name. Brilliant. Okay, but then maybe there are scenarios where I actually don't care about the rules. I just want to create it anyway. Sometimes our rules may be out of date. The way that these rules are generated are we go to a schema file in GitHub and pull the latest definitions. So it could be that our definitions are out of date. I know specifically one case where Windows machines will cut off at 15 characters because of Windows itself, but the actual Azure VMs themselves can have an unlimited long, or not unlimited, but can have a much longer name. So that's a bug. So you can say you wish to ignore the validations and also that you don't wish to clean up the input. So if I was to run this example, it doesn't give me an error, and I get a storage account which is called AB-ST-YZ. So the ST came from the fact that it's a storage account, and the AB and the YZ come from the prefixes and the suffixes. So other cool things we can do, as I said, so we can do the actual abbreviations if we want. So the validations if we want. So this is my super cool name, and in this scenario, I don't want to concatenate anything. I just want to. This is the name that I've created. I just want to see is it valid or not. So, oh. That's not going to work. 1 second. So yeah, so I don't want to clean the input and I don't want to add any abbreviations or anything. I just want to run the validation. Tell me, does it work? So if I run this again, I'll get an exception here in the bottom, and that will tell you, sorry, this resource doesn't meet the specifications for this resource type. The value blah, blah, blah does not meet the pattern. And then I give you the regex pattern. So if you understand regex, you can read it and correct it. I don't have more information than that. So without writing some weird regex parser to tell you what that means, I can't help you more than that, but that's what you get out of the box. So, yeah, and just if I look at some more, so there's a couple of different things that I need to mention as well. So we have in the module built in when it comes out of the box, we have the definition file which comes from the GitHub repo, like I said. However, you may need to update that definition. So there is an update. CAF online resource definitions. If you run that, it will create an updated file. So we don't delete the original and they will be merged together. And what you can also do, because there are situations where maybe you want to use this CAF, I've called it CAF and I'm thinking I might take CAF away. But if you want to use this for your own resources on premise, VMs or whatever, you can specify a custom definition file, and then you can specify all the resource types, any validation scripts that you want to run. So if you want to add your own regex in here for any of the removing of any chars that you don't want in the name or validation, you can do that as well. So we always take the sort of the offline created file first, and then it's overridden by the online updated version, and then it's overridden by your custom definition. Yeah. Some other small things like the separators. I don't know if you noticed when I was creating the names before, they were always separated by a dash. If I wanted to, I'll just take it to this example up here, if I wanted to separate it with 1, I don't know why I would do that, but let's just say I do want to do that, I'll end up with like PSConfProd1, ST1, test 101. So yeah, so that's something we can do. And then you might think to yourself, okay, this is all cool and everything, but you know, if I'm doing all of this work to like append all these prefixes and suffixes together, I could just do that myself. I could just do string format or whatever. Yeah, you've got the resource type bit in there, but yeah, fine. I want something a bit more. So what you can do for your companies is, you know, create wrapper functions. So this is a new, very specific company naming convention that has been thought out very well and took 2 years to decide function. And you can see I've went overly complex on this, as I always do. But yeah, the parameters here, you can pass in the project name, you can pass in the environment, you can say how many of these names you want, and then you can say from what ID you're starting at. So this is just an example of a function that your company could write. And if you look in here, I just do a loop, and I just create the resource. So if I just execute this now, and then say, okay, I now want to have a new very specific thing, project. Oh, this is what happens when you don't test things. Yeah, there's a dynamic parameter in here, and I think that could be screwing me up. I literally just wrote this like 30 seconds before I walked into this room. So maybe I won't demo that. I've got 3 minutes left. So yeah, but the point is I hope that you can understand that you can create a module or a function, whatever you want, and wrap it. And then no matter what happens, you can always make sure that whoever is in your team is always using this function, and you have a standardized set of names wherever you are. So yeah, that in a nutshell is the repo or the project. If you want to check it out, as I say, it's, the actual Git page is already there. It's github.com/workspace/PSCAFNaming, that's workspace WRX. I haven't got a link. If you want it, just come and ask me afterwards. And otherwise, yeah, like I said, I'm open to feedback, so thank you very much for listening.
3 minutes for questions. What's your name? I'm going to write it down.
Ryan Bartram. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
On the limiter, for example, is there any case of bad verdicts regarding the resource type? For example, illegal characters for naming convention?
Sorry, with the mask, I can't really understand. Sorry, say again?
For the limiter, is there any kind of bad signs that I can't use because of the resource type?
Yeah, so that
says it's not allowed to use this.
Exactly. So there is in the regex. So there's 2 pieces. I can actually just quickly demo the. Oh, I'm not. So yeah. So in the resource definition file, you can see here. We can see, for example, this is a private endpoint, and we've got the validation regex here, which is validating is it good or not. And then we also have a regex here, which is stripping out anything else. So in this case, we're basically saying a private endpoint can have A to Z, 0 to 9, and you can also have dashes, dots, and underscores. So yeah, so you can, it will do that for you, and you can create your own ones, like I said. Any other questions? Sorry, you said you had a question? Yeah?
Yeah. So I use this, not this one, but I do the naming all the time. Can I also just generate all the names beforehand?
Yeah. Yeah, so you can do that, and like I said, you can either have this thing generate the names for you, or you can already generate your names however you do it, and then just pass it into them and say validate for me, and just make sure that they're green. Yeah, exactly. That would be a good use case. Exactly. Yeah. Alex?
Are there any plans to connect that with the Azure policy and check if it's compliant with some Azure policy? Because this is how people very often force namings.
Not yet. I haven't thought about it, but it's a good idea. I'll write it down, and yeah, I'll see if I can implement something yet. So I've got 30 seconds left. One more question. Thank you, Owen.
Just a quick question about the resource type. So you use storage account.
Yep.
Microsoft.storage.
Yeah, so I try to be a little bit nicer. So basically, if you look at the definition here, it's using the it's actually being scraped from Terraform. So you can see it's Azure RM underscore private underscore endpoint. And then what I do is I strip off the Azure RM and then replace the underscores with spaces, just so it looks more easy for you on the eyes. But back in the back end, it's all good. Okay, so 1 second left, done. Thank you very much.